Debt management plans, or DMPs as they're known, can be a wonderful tool to repay debt. Unfortunately, like most things in life, there's not a one-size-fits-all solution to debt and the repayment of that debt. US consumer debt hit an all-time high in the first quarter of 2020 at $14.3 trillion. This was according to a report from the New York Federal Reserve. To put this into perspective, during the Great Recession of 2008, consumer debt was at $12.68 trillion. So this is alarming. In the credit counseling industry, there are several steps to determine the best solution to repayment of debt. To begin with, we must truly understand what the difficulty was that caused the debt and the problem or issue with repayment of the debt. It's common for people to assume that there is only one obstacle that's causing them to not be able to pay or repay their debt. However, this is part of the credit counseling session, is to dig a little deeper. We often find that the challenge started long before the consumer started having trouble with debt repayment. During a credit counseling session, we can identify the problems behind an inability to pay off debt. We seek the reasons why the debt was accumulated in the first place. Was a consumer living beyond their means? Was there a health issue or a loss of a job? Once we can identify the root cause, we can not only look at debt repayment, but also some behavior modifications to avoid future issues. It's imperative that we get an accurate look at the consumer's financial plan or budget. During the evaluation, we can find areas that may be creating problems and also make recommendations that could be necessary to avoid overspending. A great way to be able to get the best picture of your own spending is through tracking your expenses for 30 days. An easy way to do this is to write down everything you're spending your money on every time you open your wallet, and to do this for an entire month. In the digital age, we have a tendency to swipe our credit card and not pay full attention to our purchases. So after tracking your spending for an entire month, you can evaluate your wants from your needs and find areas that may be causing you financial stress. After our credit counselors have reviewed your expenses and income, the next step is to evaluate your credit report. The analysis of the credit report provides us with a clear image of who you owe, how much you owe, and what the status of that debt may be. Is it past due? Has it gone into collections? These are really important questions as they dictate the repayment options that you may have. Repaying the debt on your own would be the first option to explore. The Snowball Method of repayment is a technique used by people that like instant gratification. You would list all your debts from the smallest balance to the largest balance, regardless of their interest rate. The extra money that you found in your budget after tracking your spending and making some changes would be applied to the credit card with the lowest balance. Through this effort, the debt with the smallest balance will be paid off first. And it's important to note that you still need to be making payments on all of your cards and various debts to keep them current. But that first card, once that's been paid off, you shift that money that you were paying on that card and add it to the payment of the next smallest balance. This will allow you to see your cards getting paid off fast. And that gives you a really good sense of accomplishment. The downside of this approach is that there's no real money being saved on the interest rates. So an alternative to the Snowball Method is the Avalanche Method. If your goal is to pay the least amount of interest while paying down your debt, I suggest this method. The Avalanche Method entails listing your debts with the highest interest rate down to the lowest interest rate. The extra funds from your budgeting session should be applied to the debt with the highest interest rate. The result will be that this will be the debt you aim to pay off first. As with the Snowball Method, once this card has been paid off, you would then shift that payment to the card with the next highest interest rate. You may not see the results as quickly as you would with the Snowball Method, but you will save money by paying less interest as you pay off these debts. By shifting the amount you usually paid on a card to the next card in addition to your regular payments, you'll pay the debt off sooner. And this is true for both the Snowball and the Avalanche methods. The key is to maintain the payment amount throughout the payoff process and not obtain new or continue to use credit cards. Paying off unsecured debt on your own can be daunting. Many people benefit from the assistance of a professional. Speaking to a certified credit counselor is the best answer. One of the solutions a credit counselor will investigate will be the Debt Management Plan, or DMP. However, buyer beware, not all credit counselling agencies are created equal. Before working with a credit counselling agency, verify that they are non-profit, licensed and bonded, and that the counsellor you're speaking to is a certified credit counsellor. After the credit counsellor has performed a thorough assessment of your financial situation, they may suggest a debt management plan. A debt management plan is a debt consolidation plan in which, through relationships with creditors, a credit counselling agency is able to reduce interest rates, stop late fees and over-limit fees, and stop those harassing phone calls. Every creditor has its own concessions that they offer through a certified credit counselling agency. Once a client has entered into a debt management plan, they would make one monthly payment to the agency. And then the credit counselling agency would break it up and disperse it to the different creditors. This provides a huge convenience to the client. The payments are made on time, which assists with the raising of your credit score. And the client has access to certified credit counsellors and housing counsellors as needed. There's also a financial literacy component, which is so important. Many adults have not been exposed to a legitimate financial education class, and it's never too late to learn good personal finance practices. Many of us have heard or seen those commercials about paying debt back at a fraction of the price on TV or the radio. These are debt settlement agencies, not non-profit credit counselling agencies. What these agencies traditionally offer is for the client to make a monthly payment to them, which they hold in an account, and at a certain point of debt delinquency will offer debt settlement to the creditor. And there are several problems with this. The first is that many consumers don't realize the debt is not being paid and is in fact going further into delinquency. This causes the creditor to charge higher fees and additional damage to the client's credit score. Furthermore, there's no law that requires creditors to accept a debt settlement. If the creditor refuses to settle, they may decide to take you to court for a judgment, which can result in wage garnishment, bank levy, or a lien against a current or future property. If a debt settlement can be agreed upon, depending on the amount of debt forgiven, you may receive a Form 1099 from the IRS. The IRS will view the forgiven portion of the debt as income, which will require you to pay tax on it. I would strongly recommend speaking with a certified credit counselor and reading all the fine print before signing with a debt settlement agency. The last solution I would recommend exploring would be bankruptcy. Bankruptcy is a possible option after all the other options have been exhausted. Consumers can file a Chapter 7, which is a liquidation of debt, or a Chapter 13, which is a reorganization of debt. Chapter 7 is typically for individuals with lower income and little to no assets. In Chapter 13, you're able to actually hold on to more of your assets, and the court will establish a repayment plan for the debt. With both Chapter 7 and 13, the consumer is required to participate in pre-bankruptcy counselling prior to filing bankruptcy. This can often be done in conjunction with a non-profit credit counselling agency that's been approved by the US Department of Trustees. In order for the debt to be discharged, a financial education course is required as well. The same agency that provided the counselling can often refer you to a financial education course. The courses are often taken online, and the certificate is sent to you or your attorney. I never recommend filing a bankruptcy without an attorney. Bankruptcy law can be tricky and differ from state to state. An attorney can ensure that your interests are protected. We all know how stressful debt can be. Debt repayment can be particularly difficult when the debt seems insurmountable. The most important thing to remember is that there is help out there. Please contact one of our certified credit counselors at 800-992-4557. They'll provide you with the guidance and education to support you through this stressful time.